Every time he finished a call from his boss, he would slam his phone to the ground and stomp it to pieces. He practically lived on takeout from places like KFC, and when ordering food, he deliberately avoided making eye contact with anyone. Before going to sleep, he always set his alarm to make sure he never slept longer than 30 minutes. As a rigorously trained professional assassin, Mike knew that details could mean the difference between life and death, so he was always cautious and meticulous, never allowing room for error. However, this time, while executing a sniper mission, a beautiful woman suddenly appeared in his scope. He couldn't help but steal a few extra glances, and his heart rate shot up past 100. Mike knew this condition would seriously compromise his shooting accuracy. He immediately took deep breaths, forcing himself to calm down and realign his crosshairs on the target. When his heart rate returned to optimal levels, he decisively pulled the trigger. But at that very moment, the woman suddenly moved, accidentally blocking the fatal bullet.
Fuck.
Mike wanted to take another shot, but the target's bodyguards were equally well-trained and immediately drew heavy curtains. Realizing the mission had failed, Mike didn't waste a second. He quickly packed his equipment and prepared to evacuate. His movements were swift and efficient, but never panicked. Clearly, he had an emergency plan ready. He rapidly collected the shell casings from the ground, put on his helmet, hurried downstairs, and hopped on a motorcycle he'd prepared earlier, narrowly missing the police officers arriving at the scene. Mike had carefully selected his escape route. All back roads that would help him stay hidden while allowing him to dispose of evidence along the way. Spotting a garbage truck ahead, he simply tossed his bag containing the firearms right into it. After riding for a while, Mike abandoned the motorcycle and threw his helmet into a river. He then entered a convenience store, claiming he needed to use the restroom, and quickly changed into a different outfit. Before leaving, he deliberately sprayed some cologne at the sink to mask any lingering scents. Next, Mike hailed a taxi and headed straight to the airport. Before reaching the entrance, he took out his last backup pistol, carefully wiped off his fingerprints, and tossed it into a trash can. At this point, he wasn't carrying anything suspicious. However, when he passed through the security checkpoint and saw the police dog staring intently at him, he couldn't shake a feeling of unease. So he turned around, went into the restroom, and washed himself down once more. During this time, he received a call from his superior. Mike knew all too well that for a professional killer, a failed mission meant danger came not just from the target's retaliation. Even his employer might eliminate him to tie up loose ends. That's why he couldn't afford to let his guard down. After hanging up, Mike quickly removed his SIM card and crushed his phone to prevent tracking. Even so, when he boarded the plane, he remained highly alert, not missing any suspicious details. Soon, he noticed a man who seemed to be watching him. With his sharp instincts honed over 80 years in the business, Mike was almost certain the man was also a killer, and his target was likely Mike himself. To shake him off, Mike quietly got off the plane at a layover and found a hotel to stay the night, planning to continue his journey tomorrow. At the hotel, Mike remained cautious. He took a glass and a plate, carefully balancing the glass on the door handle and placing the plate on the floor below. If anyone tried to open the door, the glass would fall onto the plate with a loud crash, immediately alerting him to any intrusion and preventing a surprise attack. After these preparations, Mike took out a dinner knife and sat on the couch. Only after confirming everything was secure did he reluctantly close his eyes to sleep. The next morning, he finally breathed a sigh of relief. The killer who had been tailing him seemed to have been successfully shaken off. When he boarded another flight, that familiar face was nowhere to be seen in the cabin. After several transfers, Mike finally made it back to his place in New York.